Hey everyone, Chris here from IELTS Advantage, and in this video what I'm going to do is explain the 5-point strategy that has helped thousands of my students get a band 7, 8 or even 9, and I'm also going to explain what not to do. And in order to explain that, I've taken you up here. This is in Vietnam, and the French built these guns, these huge big cannons, at the end of the 19th century, I think. And the reason why they built them was just behind me. You can't see it because of the trees here, but there is a massive waterway here. So it was to protect the ships and protect the waterway. And the last time these guns were used, I think, was against the Japanese, and they haven't been used in a very, very long time. So what has this got to do with IELTS and this 5-point strategy? Well, I want you to imagine that you are the captain of a ship. You're the captain of your own IELTS ship on your own IELTS journey. Which one would you like to help you? Would you like this massive gun or this little lighthouse here? So which would you choose to protect your ship? These massive, very impressive guns or the simple little lighthouse? Well, these guns look impressive, but they are completely useless. They haven't been used since, I think, the Second World War. I think they used them against the Japanese, or maybe the Japanese used them. But there's a reason why they are not very useful, but even though they look impressive. Whereas the little lighthouse, if it was down for just one day, all of those ships would be in a lot of trouble. The lighthouse is extremely important, even though it is not as impressive and it is a lot simpler than these guns. And this is really the difference between success and failure on the IELTS test. An offensive strategy, like the guns, or a defensive strategy, like the lighthouse. 90 to 95% of students try an offensive strategy. They try and use the big guns. Only about, in my experience, 5 to 10% of students use a defensive strategy, but those students that use the defensive strategy are far, far more successful, and they get the scores that they need in a shorter amount of time, without as much stress and without failing the test over and over and over again. So what does that actually mean in practical terms when we're talking about the IELTS test? Okay, so let's start with the offensive strategies. Whenever students are doing the test, especially students who want to get a high score as quickly as possible, or maybe they've failed the test in the past and they just want to be done with this test, they take out the big guns. All right, so what are the big guns? Big guns offensive strategies are things like templates, things like high-level vocabulary, memorizing words and phrases, trying to memorize complex grammar structures and templates and things like that. And it's also trying to cheat the test or trick the test in some way by trying to, watch videos that predict the topic that is going to come up, or memorize whole answers for the speaking test, or, use these teachers that you'll find online that specialize in tricks and hacks and shortcuts and things like that. And unfortunately, just like these guns behind me, they look good, but they are completely and utterly useless. And what happens is often students will use one of these offensive strategies and they'll fail the test, and what they'll think is, I need a bigger gun. So every time they fail the test, they think, I need even higher level vocabulary, better templates, even more cheats and tricks and hacks. And to be honest, there are a lot of online sources and teachers out there that specialize in selling you bigger and bigger and bigger guns. We don't do that because they don't work, and we don't sell you or teach you anything that doesn't work. What you need is just a simple lighthouse, a defensive strategy, something that will stop you hitting the rocks and sinking. Okay, so what is the lighthouse strategy? Let's call it that, the lighthouse strategy or the defensive strategy. On a very basic level, what it is where is the danger? Where are you going to fail, or what are the reasons that will lead to failure, and avoid that. Just like a lighthouse shows a ship's captain, here's the reason why you will sink, don't come close to me, and the ship can just make its way through friendly waters and get to its destination. And that's all you really need to get to. And to keep going with this shipping analogy, most ships are capable of making it to their destination, but not if they hit the rocks. The vast majority of students that we work with are capable of getting the score that they need, but they keep hitting the rocks. Okay, so let's go into detail on this 5-point strategy. So number one, which modules, so is it listening, reading, writing, speaking? For most of the students that we work with, they don't need to work on all modules. Which module or modules do you need help with? So if you need help only with writing, don't go to a course or spend any time where they're teaching you about speaking, reading, and listening. Or if you only need help with reading and speaking, only spend your time on those weak areas. How do you know that? Well, if you've done the test before, you will easily know that. If you haven't done the test before, you can do some reading and listening practice tests to find out if you're at the level that you need or not. For writing and speaking, you do need a qualified teacher who used to be an examiner, an ex-examiner, to listen to your speaking, look at your writing, and tell you your level. And that's going to cost you a little bit of money, but it's going to save you a huge amount of money in the long term and save you time and stress, and I think that's worth it. So number one, which modules are we going to focus on? So let's take, for example, that you only need help with writing. So step number two is, within the module that you want to work on, what is the thing or things that are going to lead to you failing, not getting the score that you need? And that is, for speaking and writing, that's going to be related to the official marking criteria. So let's say, for example, writing is that task response or task achievement, coherence and cohesion, grammar and vocabulary. Again, if you get help from a real teacher who knows what they're doing, they will be able to tell you exactly what level you are at. So for example, they might say your task response is great, your coherence and cohesion is good, your vocabulary is good, but the real problem is your grammar. And you're never going to get the score that you need until you fix that weak area. For other students, their grammar might be fine. It might be a problem with task response, for example. But step number two, you really need to find out within that module, what are the key reasons? Where are the rocks? Where are you going to hit the rocks and fail? And until you find that out, you are never, and repeat, never, going to get the score that you need. It doesn't matter how many big guns you bring in. It doesn't matter how many big words you insert into your essays. It doesn't matter how many templates you memorize. Until you understand that issue and fix that issue, you're never going to be able to get the score that you need. And again, that requires you getting in touch with a actual qualified teacher who knows what they're doing, that has been a real examiner. Will cost you a little bit of money, but save you a huge amount of money in the future, and will make you a huge amount of money in the future when you move to that country of your dreams and work in a better paying job. So step number three is very, very simple. Stop doing those things that are going to lead to you hitting the rocks and getting a lower score. So again, let's use the example of writing. If an examiner tells you, or a former examiner tells you, that everything is good apart from your grammar, and within grammar your two weak areas are articles and prepositions, you need to stop making those mistakes. All right. Or it could be that task response is an issue because you are not developing your ideas enough. You need to stop doing that. So point number three, step number three in this strategy is stop doing that. Stop going towards the rocks. Okay, so, and that leads us on to step number four. Improve the thing that you are weak in. All right, what is your weak area? Improve that thing. Move away from the rocks and move towards, up towards the score that you need. And again, we're going to use the official marking scheme, the official band descriptors. So let's keep it very simple. You might be at the level where it says you partially developed your main ideas, or you partially addressed the question. To go up, you need to fully develop your answers or fully address the question. So you're going from this level partially to this level fully. So you need to move towards that level. It's going to be different for different people, but it is as simple as that. So how do you go from partially to fully? Well, you learn how to fully develop your ideas with things like full explanations that make sense, examples that make sense, examples that support your answer, and fully answering the question. Again, extremely simple, but not many students do this. And then step number 5, repeat that process. Just keep repeating that process. Where else are my weaknesses? Where can I improve? Where are the rocks? What are the reasons why I might get a lower score than I'm hoping for? Hone in on that reason and then improve. Move towards the score that you need. Extremely simple. And none of these big guns are going to help you with that strategy. And that is why students fail over and over and over and over again, because number 1, they never understand their weaknesses. Number 2, they never fix them. And number 3, they're trying to use this instead of the lighthouse. Sorry for looking very red and sweaty. I'm an Irishman in a very hot country. If you want to know, I'm sure some of you want to know where I am. I'm in a place called Vung Tau. That's the water there. I'm up on the mountains, very beautiful part of Vietnam. So I'm currently doing a little tour around Asia, and I look like this all the time now because my body is not built for this type of heat. All right, so guys, thank you so much. I hope that makes sense. But again, just to reiterate, just look at those 5 points on the strategy, follow them, and every time we suggest something like this, people complain and say, oh, you're only saying this to get us to use a teacher. We're not saying use us. You can use someone else who is good. The reason we're saying this is it's the only way to actually improve your scores. The only way. There isn't a way. If there was a quick tip, trick, or cheat, I would give it to you. Why would I not give it to you? They don't exist. All right. So again, thank you so much, guys. Hope that you're all doing well. And if you need anything, always feel free to get in touch with IELTSadvantage.com. Sorry if I'm not as coherent as I normally am. The heat is absolutely killing me. I shouldn't have done this in the middle of the day. But thanks very much, guys. And again, if you need anything, feel free to get in touch. And if you need any help whatsoever, go to IELTSadvantage.com and you'll find a lot of help. And there's a butterfly. If you can see the butterfly. Don't know if you can. There it is.